Hello and welcome to We Random episode 37 recording on April 30th, 2021. Hey B, yeah, I remember at one point when I was a kid, my dad actually got fired from a job as a road worker for theft. I didn't believe it. I refused to believe that he could do such a thing. But I got home and the signs were all there. We'll be back after this chat.
Almost Qualified Productions. We're 3 beers in. Time for you to catch up.
Welcome to We Random, episode 37. I'm Brian, that's Christopher. Say hello to the people, Christopher.
Hello, everybody.
So, you opened the show with a joke. I got a joke for you too. Or maybe it's a poem. It's a little bit of both. Do you want to hear it?
As long as the word Nantucket is not in there anywhere, then yes, go right ahead.
All right. Roses are red. Our background is gray. Tomorrow, it's gonna be May.
Oh, God.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, God.
So, welcome to We Random. This is where you get to hang out with us while we go through all of these wonderful topics on our Wheel of Doom. So we have some topics that you can see on the screen. For those of you listening to the podcast version of this, there are 10 different topics that may come up. Not all of them will come up because we just talk too much and that's just not going to happen. But we'll try to get through what we can. We'll give you our opinions. We'll give you our insights. And maybe, just maybe, there might be a We Random Dick of the Week. So, Christopher, are you ready to get into this one?
Let's do it.
All right. What you got for me, Wheel?
And the Wheel thinks that we should talk about, it's right on the line, Biden's meat.
All right. We're going to talk about them big meaty men slapping meat to start out the show. So, is Joe Biden going to take away your red meat, chat? That's what we need to talk about. So, President Joe Biden gave remarks at the Virtual Leaders Summit on Climate, in which he framed a nationwide effort to cut greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. The British tabloid The Daily Mail, which in lieu of actual details the Biden administration has not yet provided, took it upon themselves to speculate about what terrible things could be included in Biden's plans. The speculation included saying that Biden's plan could require people to only eat one hamburger per month, spend $3,500 in taxes a year, and buy expensive electric cars. The Daily Mail cited a report published by the University of Michigan that looked at how dietary changes could reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The research basically found that if all animal-based foods were replaced by plant-based alternatives and beef consumption fell by 90%, dietary emissions would drop by 51%. So based on that, some of our friends on the GOP side of the aisle, such as Lauren Boebert and Kevin McCarthy, attributed this research as being part of Biden's plan, attacking Biden and saying that he and his administration need to, quote, stay out of people's kitchens. So I have some interesting thoughts on this one because I feel like people need to do their research on stuff. Like, don't just look at the clickbait headline and go, oh, somebody said this, somebody did that. Like, take your 90 seconds and do some research. But obviously these politicians didn't do that. And then they're spreading this garbage to their constituents. And then literally, I think this was like Monday or something, I was seeing multiple people on Twitter posting pictures of like steaks and like all this other red meat being like, the liberals can't take my meat. And I'm like, what? What are your thoughts about this?
Back when I was a kid, when I was in high school, there was a newspaper at my friend's house. On the top of the newspaper, it said National Enquirer, and on the cover of the paper, it was talking about squirrels that were hyped up on crack. So this is what was happening in New York City, is that people were like dropping their crack rocks and the squirrels were eating the crack rocks, and they're getting all hyped up and they're attacking people. Now, I don't remember there being any kind of war on the crack squirrels. And you know why that is, B? Because it's a fucking National Enquirer making bullshit up. That's what the Daily Mail is. It's a fucking tabloid, for fuck's sake. So the fact that these people are so goddamn stupid that they're taking this information and running with it, well, I guess it doesn't blow my mind, but it should blow my mind. Like, how fucking stupid are they, right? Now, is there some legitimate science behind the fact that if you limited how much meat consumption there is, that you're going to eliminate a bunch of greenhouse gas? Yes, I mean, that makes absolute sense. But nowhere in here anywhere was there any indication that they're going to force this on anybody. There's no indication they're going to raise taxes by $3,500 or whatever the hell it said. Like, there's no indication of any of this. It was some bullshit tabloid fucking newspaper that publishes bullshit stories that puts something out there, and now people are running off with it. It's stupid. Like at least let's wait and see what the actual plan is. And then, you know what? If the idea is you can only have one burger a month, then we can all flip our shit. But let's not flip our shit over what a fucking tabloid published, for God's sake.
Right, but like this to me is part of the problem in American culture is there's a lack of information literacy. People will just see like the little Twitterized 280 character thing and they'll run with it, as opposed to taking the time to like look into something and say, "Oh, is this a thing?" Like maybe I just have too high of expectations for people, because like that's something that I do. Like I see something and like maybe I feel my blood start to boil a little bit, but then I'll actually go like read it, or I'll go watch the video, or I'll go figure out like, is this something that's being taken out of context, or is this something that like, oh yeah, like this is something that it is a thing. But like again, like this to me, if you go back to all the things that we talked about when Donald Trump was president, there was video of this dude on camera saying these things, and then these people are like, "Oh no, he didn't say that. He didn't mean that. He didn't never." And as to where, like with this, people are like, "Joe Biden said he gonna take away my red meat," and like nowhere in the video, nowhere in the transcript, nowhere in anything other than this research article does anyone say that you shouldn't have red meat. Now, like you said, there is science behind the fact that, yep, if you were to reduce these different things, you would also help with the greenhouse gas problem. But again, we are also in a country where farming and things like that are huge for business. So you're dealing with a lot of different variables. So it would surprise me if they came out and they were like, nope, farmers, we're going to have to make you stop distributing meat, right? Like that's a very nuanced thing. And I think one of the ploys that the GOP folks here are trying is they're trying to rile up those farmers, and they're trying to get those people to start to turn on Biden and, you know, go to their side. So I think in some ways this is also a political play.
Yeah, but there's so many small things they can do. So last year I bought a new car, brand new car. It's a hybrid car, right? So I use less gas, which is better for the environment, right? So that should be a good thing. I should maybe even be incentivized for that. No, I get hit with a larger fucking fee for registering my car every year. It costs me like an extra $150 or something every year because I'm using less gas. Like that should be incentivized. We should want people to use less gas. We should want people, you know, to have a smaller carbon footprint, but we don't. We don't incentivize that at all. In fact, we incentivize businesses to pollute the fuck out of the whole fucking world. So there's a lot of little things that can be done. But to your point, it's really about sensationalism, and people want to be pissed off. That's just kind of the world we're in. We got a bunch of people who want to be pissed off, and we got a bunch of people who want to piss people off because they think it's funny. And that does not make for a good mix. And that's all this is. It's a garbage story that never should have been printed to begin with, except for the fact that you know it's a garbage story. And on top of that, it's just people who recycle that because they like pissing people off. It's just dumb.
Well, you know, at least if you ever get to go on a date with Lauren Boebert, she might invite you over for a barbecue, right? So
there we go. We got that. I'm spinning the wheel, B.
Let's move on to the next topic.
See, this is I put this one on the run sheet because this is a great story. And this is about the Rainbow House.
Rainbow House.
I love this story.
So again, here's the pros and cons of humanity. So Mikey O'Halloran, a gay hairstylist in Australia, had the idea of painting his newly purchased beach house rainbow stripes from top to bottom.
Just remember, chat, I'm about to buy a house. Okay, go on.
O'Halloran's neighbors had other ideas. The neighbors, 5 angry men, confronted O'Halloran over the plan. They'd heard about the plan through a conversation with the painter who was painting the kitchen and told O'Halloran, "Don't do it. Paint your house and see what happens. Because next time we meet, it won't be so nice."
Mm.
This is where you insert the booze.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So, O'Halloran posted about his experiences online, with several individuals condemning the acts and offering to pitch in. More than 100 people, including children, home renovators, and police officers, came to O'Halloran's house and spent 7 hours painting the home the rainbow stripes that O'Halloran wanted. One donor even had surveillance cameras installed at the house in case anyone were to come and threaten the house. So, this kind of shows you the best of humanity and the worst of humanity in one story. Because again, these are people who came to this person's house and said, "Oh, you can't paint your house these colors because we don't like you as a person who identifies as gay. We don't want you to make my home property values go down. Me, which is kind of what a lot of people in this country do. And then there's some other people out here who are like, "You know what? I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about you. And you are someone who wants to do this thing because it's what you want to do. And I'm going to lift you up and I'm going to help you out." So, again, good and bad, but I think it's good to celebrate the good in this story. What are your thoughts, Christopher?
Yeah, that's the whole reason I put this in here, right? I mean, we can bitch about all sorts of things, and we do that a lot, but we need to look at some of the bright sides. There's a lot of really good stories out here, right? And this is a guy who wanted to show his pride and his excitement and who he is. And, you know, there's a bunch of idiots who decided that, no, that's not okay. We don't. And let's be honest, I guarantee you this had nothing to do with property value. This had nothing to do with, I don't want to look at a rainbow house from my backyard. This had to do with prejudice. It had to do with people who are closed-minded idiots. That's what it had to do. You could tell by the way that they, you know, described the way that this situation came about. This wasn't a very nice, friendly, "Hey, I have concerns about blah, blah, blah." No, this was, "Don't do this. Otherwise, next time I come by, it's not going to be so nice." This is just some asshole who's all up in his assholedness. And I think it's great that all these people came and said, "You know what, the fuck with all those guys. We're going to paint it anyway. We're going to help you paint it. We're going to make it look amazing." And I put a picture of it there on the stream so you can see it. I think it's amazing. Have fun with it. Who cares? You bought the damn house. Do your thing, man.
Yeah, there were 5 assholes. But, you know, that's the thing. Like, this is good that, again, we're exposing things. We're talking about things. You know, there are people out here who are going to do this stuff, but there are other people who then swing the pendulum back the other way. So
Yeah.
I think that's, in the end, a good thing.
Good stuff, man. We need more people like that who can, you know, reach out a helping hand and offer to assist people and support people, especially people who are going through rough times they shouldn't have to go through. So,
That's fair.
good story. That might be the last good story that we got on here, but who knows? We got so many bad people. Okay, I don't even remember what this one is. Free speech? What's the free speech one about?
Oh, okay. So this one is one about a 14-year-old Brandy Levy, who was a high school cheerleader that failed to win a promotion from the junior varsity cheer team to the varsity cheer team. Because this person is 14, likely, they took to Snapchat to address their frustration. This frustration included a photo of themselves and a friend flipping the bird to the camera with the caption that basically said, "F everything." The outburst and reaction from adults to the outburst has now arrived itself to the Supreme Court, because our Supreme Court actually needs to spend time on stuff like this, but where this actually could determine how the First Amendment's protection of free speech applies to off-campus activities of school students. So the school argues that the First Amendment does not force schools to ignore student speech that upends the campus environment because that speech originated off campus. And they've also said that Whenever the speech originates, whether it's on campus or off campus, schools should be able to treat students alike when their speech is directed at the school and imposes a disruptive environment. Now, folks on the Supreme Court, from what I've read, seem terrified by having to actually put something in writing about this because it doesn't really seem like there's a good answer for how to handle this.
Yeah, this is interesting. Like, I don't know if there's an easy answer to this either. Which is, I guess, is why it's at the Supreme Court, right? Let them figure out how to handle this. But I mean, we see lots of different examples of just things that kids do and kids say, and the way that they can impact other people. And it was a whole lot different, like when I was a kid 45 years ago or whatever it was. That was supposed to be a really big number, but I kind of was a kid 45 years ago. Holy shit. 117 years ago when I was a kid, it was a lot different, right? Because if I wanted to say something about Brian and it's going to cause a big issue, I've got to go near Brian and say it in Brian's vicinity, or maybe I call him, right? I think we had phones back then. Whereas now
you can ride your horse and carriage, Christopher.
That's right. Now you just post it on Facebook and all of a sudden, half the school sees it. And so I think it's a very interesting situation. I do think that it's also a bit of a slippery slope as well, because I think that you really risk impacting people's ability to, express themselves and say things, and, their freedom to have themselves heard. It's just, I don't have an answer for it, but I think it's super interesting that this is coming about. And I think that this could be potentially a landmark case as far as, continuing free speech and online speech and all of that. So
right.
It's interesting.
Well, it is. And I always go back to what I say in any of these circumstances, where free speech does not mean freedom from responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this person able to go on Snapchat and basically post a picture of herself giving people the bird? Sure. Does that mean that the school has to like that and allow her to stay on her cheerleading team? No, as long as there are rules that are written in the provisions that say these are the things that you need to do to act according to whatever, okay, right? Because that's kind of the discussion that we've had before when it comes to policy, is that first you have to look at the policy. Then you can determine, is the policy something that's worthwhile or not, right? Because those are often two different things too. And when it comes to the First Amendment, like, I always look at it from the perspective too of threatening and violence and like what's going to incite violence. I don't think that this person's post is going to incite violence, right? Now, again, it might, like, being like F school, F everybody. Like, if there's a bunch of people that all of a sudden get mad and they're like, we're gonna go burn the school down, right? Like, that could be
well, sure, but somebody could post on Facebook that, the school's not going to serve hamburgers on Monday because of Joe Biden's new laws or whatever. And people could get up in arms and they could protest and they could light the school on fire. Now, does that mean that somebody should be held accountable? They should be kicked out of school. They should be given suspension. They should be arrested because all they posted out there is there's not going to be hamburgers on Monday. Like, they didn't, what they said was completely innocuous. And then I don't see there's anything wrong with someone saying fuck school and fuck cheerleading and blah, 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 like whatever. Like, she's getting her frustrations out. That's how she decided to do it. Big deal. Like, how was that interrupting anything? How was that causing an issue? I think what it came down to is the school didn't like what she was saying. And so they probably tried to discipline her or something. And they said, whoa, wait a second. I said this at home. This has nothing to do with you. You have no right to have an issue with me expressing myself. And so I think that's probably, and I don't know for certain, but I think that's probably where this is coming from. And I think it's, like I said, it's a very, very, very fine line there. But again, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if my boss turned into this podcast, which maybe she will, I don't know. Like, I could probably be held accountable for, running my mouth off here too. You kind of have to,
Well, and that's the hard part. And that's actually something that I was going to bring up. It's like, have we said things to each other or on this podcast that could, in theory, be something that people could hold against us?
Maybe.
Possibly. But then I also think that there's a part to how you handle yourself in public. You have to understand that whatever you put out there isn't private. Once you have shared that with one person, you have to assume that that is public. Like,
Yeah, but who's to say what's okay and what's not okay in public? I mean, old man Wiggum says that if you're a school athlete, there's code of conduct that you must follow. But is there a code of conduct here? Did she break some sort of code of conduct? I don't know. Like that, I think that's a different story. And even at that case, she's outside of school, right? Like, if I decided to go to the local Walmart and just start yelling and cussing and swearing at people, like that's one thing. If I decide to wear a t-shirt that my company gave me that has my company logo plastered across it, and I go to Walmart and I start yelling and cussing and swearing at people, now all of a sudden it's a little bit of a different situation, right? Because now I am representing my company at that point. So now it's not only me being an asshole, it's my company being an asshole. And that's a big difference too.
Well, but I guess I think about it, and this is where it all becomes just a slippery slope, right? Like all the people who've gotten fired from their jobs because they said racist things, or they, harassed people at a shop and it was caught on camera, right? Like technically those people could make the same claims that this girl is making. So it's like,
potentially. I mean, it depends on, I think business is a lot different than the schools, though. So I think there's a difference there.
Okay, what is the difference?
Well, for instance, I live in an at-will state, so a company can fire me for whatever the fuck they decide they want to fire me for. I could come in with, maybe I wear my blue fingernails at work, and they're like, nope, guys can't do that, you're fired. And I can't do nothing about it. That's just the way that it is. It's just set up that way. I can't do nothing about it. I'm done. I'm fired. I gotta go find a new job. Whereas schools can't just decide to kick you out willy-nilly for no reason whatsoever. And I don't know if they decided to kick her out anyway, but it's just a different situation. It's a different type of environment, and the relationship is different.
Yeah, they removed her from the team. So again, that's where I think it would come back to seeing what that code of conduct is for the school. Like,
yep, I think that's what it comes to.
I'm sure in this day and age, they probably have some very corporate lawyers speaked up, like, you must conduct yourself as a corporate and digital citizen responsibly.
Maybe. I think it depends on what it's saying, and really what this case is about. And yes, Emily, this is the Supreme Court. It is like, can you hold her accountable with stuff that she's doing off of campus? That's really what the whole case is about. Because she said this when she was off campus. She wasn't in school. She wasn't at school. It had nothing. It was about school, but it wasn't done at school. And how much reach does the school have in that situation? I think that's where the question comes.
Yeah. Well, this will be one that's interesting. Like once they make a ruling, for us to come back and talk about what they decide and delve into it a little bit more.
All right, we can do that. Let's spin, because that was a little bit too serious. I want to yell and scream about somebody like Rick Santorum, that piece of shit.
That was too serious? So now we're just going to talk about, we're going to move from that to some dude who basically people have said are, okay, well, anyway. Oh no, I lost it. So Rick Santorum, in a speech to the Young Americans Foundation, Rick Santorum said, quote, "We birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there was nothing here. Yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, there isn't much Native American culture in American culture." Santorum's quote went viral. While there was a wave of disgust from many people, many natives and indigenous people were not surprised. American history textbooks routinely, and for those who look like Santorum, white males, leave out the deep and textured history of this continent's indigenous peoples, as well as the details of the brutality of the white men who invaded the land and claimed it for themselves. So, Christopher, what are your thoughts on this here?
The wee random dick of the week. I mean, what do you even say about this fucking jackhole? I mean, he completely, and you know what? Indigenous people are completely shouldn't be surprised. None of us should be surprised, right? Like, we have whitewashed history. Like,
Yeah.
Completely whitewashed history. And like all the history that we learned through school was bullshit, right? What do they say? History is written by the victors. I don't know if victor is the right term, but you know that's the saying. So, like you don't really understand. None of us. I mean, unless you've done your own education outside of your schooling, like they don't teach you the deep ingrained way that the indigenous people here of the country helped the white people, and how they got brutalized by white people, and how we completely overthrew their land, and all of that. It's just that's not there, right? So not being surprised by that. I'm not really surprised by it either, but just the fact that he was so flippant. If you haven't seen this speech, he's so flippant about it. Like, he is just like gung-ho, like, we came here and we built this country up from nothing. And then it's like way in the back recesses of that 12-year-old mind of his, he goes, oh wait, there are Indians here, we need to talk about the Indians. And so then he goes, okay, so there were some Native Americans here, we brutalized and murdered millions of them, but we built this up on our own. Okay, so there was that first winter when all of us would have died, and they gave us some food. Okay, so that happened, but we still built it up ourselves because we're white people. It's like, fuck out of here, dude. Are you serious? Like, I got nothing more to say.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's basically the whitewashing of history, and it's always like, oh, these were settlers and pilgrims, and no, let's call it what it was. These were people who came to these lands, they looked at these people, they victimized them, they took what was theirs and said, oh, this is mine now.
Yeah, same thing that we do to every other person. Like, that's just how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sad that people are going to be out here and they're going to agree with these comments, and they're like, these are the things that don't allow us to move forward as a people. For all of those people who are like, unity, we need to treat people. No, you are the We Random Dick of the Week.
Well, let's keep in mind, though, who he's talking to, though. Right? I mean, he is speaking directly to his people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee there are probably people out there who are cheering the fact that he said this and how he said it, right?
Yeah.
Because to hell with those brown people. We don't want anything to do with them. So, I still think it was an afterthought. I don't think he intended going into the speech to go about it the way that he did. I think that it just worked out in his favor and, to the detriment of everybody else who's a decent human being in the world.
Yeah, well,
that's enough.
That was a thing. That one is for you, Jeff. You asked for our opinions on that.
Oh, yeah, Jeff did ask for that one.
We've given you our opinions, and now we will move to the next.
The next dick is actually a big company that kind of got its dick slapped around a little bit, and I'm so excited about it. B, tell us about Celebrate, that lovely, wonderful Israeli company.
So, Skanzi was very sad that we didn't get to this last week, and then there was a new thing that came out about it, so now we get to talk about it.
That's great.
Celebrate and its physical analyzer, which is an intrusive phone cracking tool offered by the company, no longer supports the direct extraction of iPhone data. So this follows the discovery and exploitation of a vulnerability by the messaging app Signal. So to catch you all up on what happened last week, and actually this goes back months, where Celebrate was like, hey, we can crack Signal. And the Signal CEO was like, you're full of shit. And then last week, the Signal CEO posted this really big, long blog about all of the security vulnerabilities in the analyzer tool, and basically said, look, we can put this little digital file into Signal, and when we do that, if they try to analyze an iPhone, what's going to happen is that we are going to corrupt the data on the machine that's running this analyzer tool. So basically what happens now is any iPhone that has Signal on it would render useless the scan of the connected iPhone, and it would also corrupt the results of any scans of that machine. So basically, Signal did what the little 14-year-old girl did and just put the big old middle finger up to Celebrate.
Yeah, so let me kind of break this down in kind of layman's terms, because we're throwing a lot of terms out there. Signal is a messaging app. It's a private messaging app. It's an encrypted messaging app. It's my messaging app of choice because I don't need anybody to know what I'm saying and who I'm saying it to. Cellebrite is an Israeli company that specializes in cracking software and hardware. Specifically, they sell this to, well, they'll sell it to anybody, which is a big part of the problem, but specifically law enforcement companies buy their stuff. And they use their software and their hardware to get into people's devices, whether they should be getting into them or not. And that's part of the problem, right? Like, if I've done nothing wrong, you have no right to get into my goddamn phone, but Cellebrite is creating equipment that will allow that to happen. And so they recently came out that, like, they maybe can get into your iPhones to some degree, but they recently, and basically, so this is part of the problem with Cellebrite too, right? Like, they will scream from the rooftops, "We broke into an iPhone." Well, yeah, but that's because the iPhone was unlocked. Like, if Brian left his iPhone on my desk and it was unlocked, well, guess what? I could break into it too, because all I have to do is click the Signal app and the fucking app opens up, right? Like, hello, that's not breaking into anything. So I have issues with Cellebrite to begin with. And on top of that, they will sell this really to anybody. So there are schools, for instance, that have purchased this stuff so that they can break into students' devices. This is completely, not only is it immoral, it's fucking illegal, right? So what had happened is Cellebrite recently said, hey, we can break into Signal. And the CEO took that personally. And so what he did is he found all of these exploits. And the way that Cellebrite, basically what they try to do is they try to find flaws and exploits that will allow them to get into a device. Well, Signal did the opposite, and they found exploits and holes in Cellebrite's information. And so, as Brian said, they figured out a way that they can add a file to an iPhone that has Signal, and if this device tries to access it, it's going to cause all sorts of issues. So let me give you a kind of an example of the way that my mind works and how you can kind of visualize this, right? So there's a residential street, and most of the doors are locked, but not all of them. So what Cellebrite is doing is they're walking down the street, and they're trying to open every single door. And when they find one that's open, they go in and they look through all your shit and they take whatever they want. That's essentially kind of what they're doing, right? And what they're saying is that one house on the corner that we're calling the Signal house, they just have not been able to get into that house. But now they found that they got that secret key that's going to allow them to unlock the door, even if it's locked, and they can get in. Well, what Signal said is, well, we know ahead of time that you might come knocking on our door, and we know ahead of time that you may have that magic key. So we are going to get a tiger, and we're going to put a live tiger in the living room waiting for you. So guess what? If you open that door, you are fucked, because that tiger is going to maul the shit out of you. That's kind of what it is, right? They're just going to use the exploit against them. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's great, because I think Cellebrite is doing a lot of horrible shit that they shouldn't be doing. I think they're doing it with horrible people, or at least people who have horrible intentions. So the fact that Signal is fighting back is pretty fucking awesome. I was so giddy when I read this. I'm still giddy about it. This is amazing.
Your example made me think of the movie Home Alone, where it's like all of a sudden the crooks are trying to break in, and you just set up all the like cardboard cutouts.
That's
and
right.
Like, you got little buckets that are coming down and hitting the thieves in the face.
You went into the wrong house. Wrong house. Yeah. I guess we fall back on Amazon sidewalk. Yeah, that's probably it.
All right. So do we move on to our next topic here?
Yeah, we're spinning.
Let's do it.
I think we're going to... B.
What we got?
Well, I believe the NFL draft is happening tonight, continuing.
Yep.
So let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, the reigning MVP.
So we already argued about this on Extra Time. For those of you who are not familiar with Extra Time, for the patrons of Sconzi's stream, there is a segment that we do called Extra Time, where we talk about different topics that we don't get to on the podcast, or sometimes we just talk about random stuff that we feel like talking about. So last week, we argued about Aaron Rodgers, and we get to argue about Aaron Rodgers again, because where there's smoke is there fire. So For weeks, internet trolls and pundits alike have been spreading rumors that Aaron Rodgers is unhappy with the Green Bay Packers. Adam Schefter threw gasoline on those rumors and lit them ablaze with a report that Rodgers does not want to return to the Packers in 2021. Schefter says that Rodgers is unhappy for a variety of reasons, with some of it going to last year's draft when the Packers didn't inform him before trading up to draft a quarterback with their first round pick. Schefter says that Rodgers is also at a different point in his personal life, having recently gotten engaged and having hosted Jeopardy, where he may be interested in trying to go for the full-time role of Jeopardy host. So, another cog in this wheel, or another log in this blaze, is that several teams, including the Rams, Broncos, and 49ers, have checked in with the Packers about trading for Rodgers, with all of those deals being shut down quickly by the Packers. Schefter reported that Rodgers was offered a contract extension and he declined it. So there's just a lot of stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers. People are freaking out. It's a bunch of craziness. And because the Packers are the Packers, do you know what they did with their first round draft pick, Christopher?
I do, but why don't you tell us?
They decided after paying Mr. Kevin King $6 million to draft a cornerback that could have been had in the second round.
Yeah, maybe.
Which, that's their MO. That's what they do.
He's tall. That's all they look at. How tall is he? Oh, he's 6 foot. Yeah, we'll draft him. Like, that's all they care about.
I mean, he might be a good player, but again, this is their thing. They reach.
He seems like he's going to be a good player, but I think we're back to the same thing, right? He's not a weapon for that offense that could use weapons. I mean, we're still running fucking MVS
flushed
out there.
$6 million down the toilet too by giving it to Kevin King.
Yeah, there's no reason they should have re-signed him. But let's get back to what we're talking about, Aaron Rodgers. So I am a firm believer, and I've been very, very vocal about this, and some people disagree with me, and that's fine. They can be wrong. I don't mind. The Packers have ruined the career of Aaron Rodgers. Like, they've wasted the career of Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's no reason why they shouldn't have had a lot more success than what they've had. And they've done a piss poor job of making sure that he's surrounded with the best team possible. Lately, that's because there's no offense. I mean, who the fuck is he supposed to throw to? I had a conversation with Historical Gamer, who stops by quite a bit last night on stream. We were talking about the receiving core that he's had throughout his career, where he really hasn't had a whole lot. Like, Devontae Adams turned into a legit receiver. I think he turned Jordy Nelson into an elite receiver. I mean, he made Randall Cobb an elite receiver for a couple years, for God's sake. Like, that's the quarterback turning people into something. It's similar to what Brady did. I mean, outside of Randy Moss for 2 years or something, like, he never had a receiver that was worth a damn, but he turned them into all-pro receivers. And that's the thing that Rodgers does. But could you imagine if you got him a Roddy White or an AJ Green or somebody like that? All of a sudden, it's insane what he could do. But they've never done that. I don't know if they've never tried even with an early draft pick to get him something like that. So, I don't begrudge the guy for feeling pissed off. I don't begrudge the guy for feeling pissed off that they drafted a quarterback last year. I mean, it kind of makes sense from a team perspective, but to trade up and draft a quarterback when you've got a guy who's still one of the best in the league, arguably, I mean, he won the MVP last year, right? Of course the guy is going to get pissed. This is a guy who's played with a chip on his shoulder his entire career. So, and the fact that you don't communicate with him about that, they've made so many missteps. I don't begrudge the guy an ounce for being pissed off about this situation.
Yeah, I mean, so I saw a stat on Twitter today that was like the Packers have drafted 2 offensive players in the first round in the last 10 years. One was an offensive lineman who ended up getting hurt and moved on from team to team to team. And the other was Jordan Love. Like, that pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about their draft philosophy these past 10 years, right? And the whole thing is like, yes, they did really well in hitting on some of those second and third and fourth round picks with Nelson and Cobb and James Jones and Greg Jennings, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when Rodgers had those players, he had defenses that couldn't stop a roll of paper towel, right? Like, this is the whole thing. Like, their philosophy of not really going and signing free agents that are going to help. their philosophy of reaching for these draft picks. Half the reason that they probably have such a good track record of hitting on these 4th and 5th and 6th round picks is because that's who they're scouting. So they're drafting these 4th and 5th and 6th round picks in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd round, and they're not hitting on those. But then the guys that fall to them in the actual 4th and 5th and 6th round, they get them right. So
what's going to happen here, B?
So basically we're at the point where this year it would be financially devastating to the Packers to trade Rodgers from a dead cap situation. And basically when we talk about dead cap, it basically means the amount of money that the Packers would have against their 2021 salary cap for trading Aaron Rodgers. Next year, the amount that they would have to pay is about half of what they'd pay this year. So I don't think that they can trade or move him this year. I think if they're going to do it, it would probably be next season.
Yeah, a gamer was saying that they could get rid of him after June. I don't know how that works or something.
Yeah, because that's when basically all of their contracts run on fiscal year.
So after June, it's technically next year then.
Yep, it would go against the 2022 cap.
I mean, maybe they move him. I don't know. I think that at this point, the way that the story read to me when I first read it, it came across like the Packers are just trying to save face and just trying to correct bullshit mistakes that they'd made. Because there was no talk of an extension being offered to Rodgers until that point. Like, that's the only time that I heard about that. And that was after they restructured the contracts of 6 or 7 guys on the team to get under the salary cap. Like, all they would have had to do was restructure one fucking contract, give him the extension that he wanted or potentially wanted, and you're done. Like, you didn't have to do that. But instead, it seemed, and of course we don't see everything, but it certainly seems like they worked around giving him an extension to get under the salary cap so they could just move on after this year anyway. That's certainly how it seems. And I think Rodgers is just kind of hands in the air saying, well, you know what? I don't want to come then. Fuck you. And he doesn't have to. He can just leave. He can retire, sit out a year, and come back if he wanted to. You know, like the ball's in his court. He can really do whatever he wants. And the Packers, I think they threw an extension at him after the fact to just try to appease him. And I think he just told them to pound sand. And maybe that's why this whole thing came about of, you know what? I don't even want to come back. I'm done. So, yeah. I mean, it would suck from the team perspective. I am super, super low on Jordan Love. I don't think he's going to be any good at all. Maybe a little bit. No, he's going to be even worse than Justin Fields, which is.
I was going to say Jordan Love or Justin Fields.
No,
give it to me.
I would still take Justin Fields, but I don't think either one of them are going to be any good. But I mean, like, we don't, as a team, this would suck. But as an Aaron Rodgers fan and wanting to support him as an individual and as an athlete, fuck, do what you got to do, man. If he didn't want to come back, I get it. I understand. From a team perspective, it sucks, but I understand.
Yeah, I feel like both parties in this case have no real reason to budge, right? Because it's not financially viable for the Packers to trade him. It's not financially viable for the Packers to cut him and let him go wherever he wants to go. And for Rodgers, he would need to get from the Packers some type of financial or, basically a commitment. Like, I think for him, it's probably hard for him seeing Tom Brady out here calling his shots, right?
Yeah.
Like, Tom Brady's like, hey, you go get, Antonio Brown for me.
Right.
You go bring back Leonard Fournette. You go do X, Y, and Z. And the Buccaneers are like, yes, sir. And they, go and do it. As to where Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, can I get anything on the offensive line? Nope. We're going to go, we'll give you an offensive lineman, but he's going to be an H-back. That's our 4th tight end that we're going to draft in the 3rd round instead of drafting an actual useful piece for you.
Yeah. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. There was some interesting theories about the Broncos, who the Broncos picked, which was a cornerback. But I think, and like maybe they drafted him for the Packers. But then the fact they drafted a cornerback themselves the end of the 1st round makes you think that's probably not the case. But
but it would be kind of funny. All of a sudden, the Packers have like 16 corner. Like, Jair is great, so I don't hate having another good corner. But again, like, if you look at the draft board, there were so many pieces there that would totally help this team win right now.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know a lot
Anyway.
about this guy, but the little bit of footage that I did see, I like. He seems to be a hard-nosed kid who is not afraid to make a tackle. So as long as he can kind of hold up in coverage, which is more than we can hope from Kevin King, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're saying he's fast. He likes
like
to press.
Ran like a 4.29 or something, which is insane.
So I think we'll move on from this topic. I was going to ask you about throwing a challenge flag, but it looks like our one of our patrons, Emily.
Yeah, Emily wants to
throw
throw
the
flags.
challenge flag.
Let's do it.
And wants to know about the topic of Tucker Carlson.
The wee random dick of the week. We're giving out 2 dicks this week, Chad. I'm sorry, but we got to do it.
Oh, all right. So I'll start this by prefacing to say that the CDC came out this week and said that vaccinated individuals no longer need to wear masks outdoors as long as they are not in large groups. One day before that announcement, Tucker Carlson, who is basically a television show host, took to his airwaves to tell his followers that they should openly harass anyone that they see wearing masks outside and go as far as to call the police or social services on parents who have children wearing masks on outside. So, speaking about those who wear masks outdoors, Carlson says, they're the aggressors. It's our job to brush them back and restore the society we were born in. The next time you see someone in a mask on the sidewalk or bike path, do not hesitate. Ask politely but firmly, would you please take off your mask? Science shows there is no reason for you to be wearing it. Your mask is making me uncomfortable. When it comes to children, he said, that should be illegal. Your response when you see children wearing masks in public as they play should be no different from your response to seeing someone beat a kid at Walmart.
Oh,
You should
Jesus
call the
Christ.
police immediately.
So here, you know what? I've got a great idea. Why don't we additionally overburden our already overburdened Child Protective Services by calling in a bunch of bogus fucking claims because God fucking forbid a parent might want to keep their child and their family safe from a deadly pandemic.
So I had a very off-color comment that I made to my wife that I'm definitely not making on stream.
Do it.
You know, it's one of those things. So the biggest thing about this is I always step back. Remember on previous podcasts when I talk about we have to think about who's making the rules and how it benefits them, right?
Yeah.
This is the people who will swear up and down, don't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do or where to be or how to be or what to wear or what to say or what not to say.
Now they want to tell people what to do. Yeah.
They're telling people what to do, what to wear, who to be, and why? Because it's all about them. And, you know, we're overburdening our police. We're overburdening Child Protective Services. And do you know who that benefits? The people who are doing bad things. Because then maybe the police or Child and Protective Services can't be there to hold them to account for the stupid stuff that they are doing.
That is very true. I agree with Emily. He is the biggest dick of the week.
So, like, this whole thing just bothers me because you tell people all the time, Tucker, and all of you that are on this side of the agenda, and I'm going to use the all of you here, but like those folks that say that, they're like, don't tell me what to do. You leave me alone. You do what you want to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do. But then as soon as somebody else does what they want to do, you go, oh, that makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want you to do that. Why are you doing that? I need to see your face. I need to come up to your face and I need to caress it. No, you stay in your lane. I stay in my lane. We good.
Yeah, it just goes to the hypocrisy of people and the closed-mindedness, the narrow-mindedness that people have. And it's just, it makes me wonder if these fucking idiots even listen to a word that comes out of their own fucking mouth. Like, do you realize how stupid you are? Like, not how stupid you sound, because that would be a polite thing for someone to say. It would also be inaccurate. Do you understand how stupid you are? Because they don't, and it's unfortunate, you know. But that's where we're at. I think it's time that we move on to our favorite section, B.
Random rankings.
Because we're pushing 50
we got to go
minutes
back
right
to
now.
the island. We're
Back
going
to
back.
the island. Back to the island. So I'll give a refresh here real quick. So here is the plan, is we got this huge list of fictional characters that we put together in conjunction with our patrons. If you haven't subscribed on Patreon, you can go ahead and do that right now. There's a little link in the chat there. Oh man, Wiggle, I put it in there probably. So you can go do that. And so we solicited a lot of information from them, and we added our own, and we got this huge list of fictional characters. And then the idea is that we can throw these characters into all sorts of weird scenarios, and we can see who wins that scenario. And I think we're going to throw a little bit of a wrench into here, and we're going to add on to the scenario for each round, at least for the first 2 or 3 rounds. That'll be extra interesting, which means patrons, we're probably going to talk about that on Extra Time this week to get some ideas from you. But the initial premise is, who would you want to be stranded on a deserted island with? That's it. And we're going to start off with 2 people that I don't know. So we're going to need a lot of help, I think. This is Chloe from Smallville, which I think is a Superman-ish show. And is it Gemma Teller from Sons of Anarchy? I don't know who either of them are. Do you know who they are, B?
So I can do Chloe. I don't know anything about the Sons of Anarchy thing. So Chloe basically is kind of, so think about like when we talk about like superheroes, they always have like the very brainy, like smart sidekick, right?
Okay.
So like that's kind of the role that Chloe would play. Like Chloe would be like kind of the smart, brainy, like investigative sidekick. So you need to figure out something on the island, and like Chloe's gonna like help you investigate it and like try to figure it out, and like, you know, basically a quality sidekick.
Okay. Chat, I'm gonna have to open up to you and get your opinion, because I have no idea. I don't know. The only thing that I might possibly know about these is I know that Peg Bundy was in Sons of Anarchy, and maybe she is that Gemma Teller person. That's the only thing that I know. Gemma is a badass mom. Wiggum is a big Gemma fan. She is the evil mastermind that just wants the best for her motor. She is. It's Peg Bundy. I'm voting for Peg Bundy.
Okay.
I think
sure. We can do more research and come back next week.
It sounds like chat's rooting for Peg Bundy too. So.
All right, that's fine. We should just put Peg Bundy in the thing then. That's okay.
We should have. Do we have Ted Bundy on here? I don't think we do. Oh, we do. Or Al Bundy.
Yeah, we have Al Bundy.
Ted Bundy's a serial killer. Speaking of Al Bundy, he is up next against Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh no, this is terrible.
I'm gonna be honest, I never watched Mrs. Doubtfire, and as much as I love Robin Williams, I mean, it's fucking Al Bundy, man. Like,
so Al Bundy is not gonna be useful on an island.
No, like, but how is Mrs. Doubtfire? There's
so
no
Mrs.
kids for her to
Doubtfire is
watch.
like very creative and like very innovative. So like Mrs. Doubtfire is totally going to be more helpful and useful on an island than Al Bundy. Al Bundy's just going to like tell you stories.
Yeah, but Al Bundy will throw the football with me.
So you found a football? You're just going to like throw a coconut around?
Let's just use a coconut.
I'm going for Mrs. Doubtfire.
I'm going Al Bundy, baby. Chat, you are the tiebreaker. Lazy and sarcastic and hilarious and helpful. Polkai! I don't know what that means. I'm guessing that's where Bundy went.
Yeah, that was from Al Bundy.
Okay.
The time that he scored 4 touchdowns in a game.
That's right. We got to vote for Al Bundy. What is Emily still out there? I think we only got the 2 people supporting us right now, so we'll see what she goes with. Mrs. Doubtfire.
No. We got a split.
Yeah, we need to see if somebody else chimes in. Otherwise, I'm getting ready to do a random thing. Randomizer. I'll type slowly. Al Bundy. Mrs. D. All right, randomizing. Mrs. Doubtfire wins. All right, Mrs. Doubtfire.
I mean, Al Bundy will always have that time where.
Sorry, Chad, I'm not sharing the thing. There it is. All right. All right. So now we've got MacGyver against Sabrina Spellman, who I guess is the teenage witch. I don't know anything about her, but okay. MacGyver's getting my vote hands down, no matter who she is.
See, so this is interesting, right? Because MacGyver is innovative, but doesn't have any magical powers.
True.
Sabrina is a teenage witch who has witch powers, but doesn't always know how to harness them because she's a teenager.
I was gonna see you just hit the nail on the head for me. Do you really want to be stranded on a desert island with a teenage girl?
See, the powers make it interesting because you could always like, I don't. So there's pros and cons here, right? Like MacGyver could probably like figure out a way to cut down some trees and turn them into a boat.
Exactly. Like I'm just picturing, no, Sabrina, we can't have another coconut because then we'll starve to death. And now I got turned into a turtle. Like I don't want to deal with that
but
shit.
I like turtles.
Then you're gonna end up turtle soup. That is not a good idea.
All right. Well,
we're
going to go with MacGyver, but I wish that I could go with Sabrina.
I mean, you could still go with Sabrina. I just think MacGyver's the best choice.
Yeah.
And I'm old. All right. Now, okay. So we've got Steve Urkel from Family Matters.
Did I do that?
And Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Wow, these are two very different characters.
Like, you cannot get further separated on the scale, I don't think.
Wow. So I'll make the case for Steve Urkel, right? Steve Urkel is intelligent. You probably need some intelligence on the island. So he would be potentially helpful in like figuring things out on the island and being able to get you off. Now, he would also be probably quite annoying unless he were to at some point morph into Stefan, who is more of the smooth version of Urkel. But I mean, Captain Jack Sparrow is actually like a pirate, so he might actually know how to get you off the island or get other. So this is tough. What are your thoughts?
So who are you voting for?
I have not decided yet.
Okay. So here's my thought. I sometimes on this show can come across as angry and aggressive, but I would never actually kill somebody. But if I was stranded on a desert island with Steve Urkel, I just might kill somebody. I'm just saying it might happen. That said, if I was on a deserted island with Captain Jack Sparrow, I might get killed. So I think I'm going to take my chances with Urkel.
Oh,
I know. I thought this was a no-brainer too, till I thought about it. Because if you've watched Pirates of the Caribbean, like Jack Sparrow kind of has a heart of gold, but only like this much of it's gold, and the rest of it, he's like a pirate, right? Like he's gonna backstab you, and he's gonna undercut you, and he's gonna do whatever he needs to do to survive, and that could come at the detriment to me, and I don't like that idea.
Well, and especially if we're gonna shake things up, I'm going with Urkel because I feel like Urkel could be interesting in other situations.
Yeah, we'll see what the second round brings us.
All right, let's do it.
He does not kill, but may screw you over, which could end up with you being dead, right? So I don't like that. All right, so we've got Raymond Red Reddington from The Blacklist and the most electrifying man in sports entertainment 27 years ago, The Rock.
It definitely wasn't 27 years ago, but I have to go with The Rock because obviously, number one, you have a very physically fit individual with you. You know that this physically fit individual definitely can help you with any manual labor tasks on this island. Plus, he's entertaining.
That's true. Have you ever seen The Blacklist?
No.
I have. So I'm taking Raymond Reddington because that guy has connections. Like if anybody on our list had connections on a deserted island, it would be Raymond. So I'm going with Reddington. I think he's got to be the guy.
All right. Well, it looks like chat's going with red, so I will choose The Rock, and then the chat will choose red, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I think it's got to be red. I need to rewatch The Blacklist. The lead character really, really, really bothered me for a while, so I got turned off. I might have to go back to that one. I enjoyed that for a while. All right, we're down to the last three. Okay. We've got, oh, come on. This is probably super easy. So we've got Moira Rose from old Schitt's Creek And we got Dr. Samuel Beckett from Quantum Leap.
All right. I don't know anything about Dr. Samuel Beckett, but I know a lot about Moira Rose.
Well, he's a quantum scientist or something. Like, he's a brilliant doctor with like 73 degrees.
So basically, you can decide if you want to be entertained or if you want actual like help with things on the island. I'm taking Moira Rose because I'm making the chat decide this.
Yeah, because Sam Beckett is like a hands down easy choice here.
I'm just going contrarian here.
The only question I have here is, would I be more likely to murder Urkle or Moira? I'm not sure. Probably Urkle.
Yeah, I think it would be Urkle.
Probably Urkle, yeah. All right, it's up to Emily. She gonna go with Sam? She's gonna go with Moira Rose. We're gonna have to do another randomizer, aren't we? I knew it. You guys are choosing all the wrong people.
But I mean, this is an island. It's supposed to be fun.
She's not fun. She is so annoying. She's almost more annoying than her daughter, but not really. And Sam Beckett won the randomizer, so take that, people.
Nice. All right, what do we got?
All right, submit score. Now we have got Carlton Banks, the formerly over there, doing the dance, and the Grinch. The Grinch.
Ooh. I don't feel like either of these are very good options.
No.
I feel like Carlton is similar to Urkel, but okay, so sell me on the Grinch.
So the Grinch is used to living off everybody's discarded stuff, right? Like he's just kind of an outcast. He's used to being on his own. He's used to getting by with whatever he needs to do to get by. I think in the end, he showed that he had a big heart, right? So I guess it depends which Grinch you get. And Carlton, he's like, the way that he's portrayed, his character is, he's very much he's a rich bitch, right? Like he's that rich person who I just think he'd be utterly useless. So I think it's got to be the Grinch.
Yeah, I think you've sold me. Let's go with the Grinch.
And the Wiggum says the Grinch because we have matching personalities. Never have truer words been spoken on this earth. All right, the last one we've got is Leslie Knope.
Leslie Knope, okay.
Leslie Knope. I don't know who she is. And woo, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Don't do this to me. Oh, come on. Okay, so I guess I have to think about this now. What version of the Nature Boy do you get? Right? Like, I think that makes.
I think it does. I think you get to choose. You get to make up your own mind on what you want that to be.
Okay, because like if you get like 70-some-year-old Ric Flair who's had like heart attacks and stuff, like that's not going to help you at all. So
well, yeah, I only know one of these people, and the only thing in my mind right now is me and the Nature Boy on the deserted island doing the little strut and going woo all day long, and that sounds like a win to me. So the Nature Boy gets my vote.
I'm gonna go with Leslie Knope because Leslie is a try-hard, so she will like again be doing like all of the things. Like she'll be the one that like is drawing letters in the sand that are like 6 feet wide, like trying to get a plane to find you.
Okay, all right. Well, you got one vote with Leslie. You got them both. Ric Flair goes down. He went down with the ship. He's sinking.
Emily doesn't know who the Nature Boy is. What?
I know. We're going to have to indoctrinate her on that one. All right. So that is the end of that part of the bracket. So we've got one more to go in the first round. And as I mentioned, tomorrow or Sunday, whenever we get around to doing it, and B is going to remind me, we will talk about what we want to add to the second round. So I think maybe we each come up with one B, and then we allow each person who's a patron to come up with a couple, and then we'll probably put out a vote or something and figure out which one we go with. So kind of the idea is it might be you are stuck on a deserted island and there are cannibals on the island. Something like that, right? So maybe we took Urkel because, hey, he's kind of smart. And did we take Urkel? Yeah, we did. He's kind of smart and maybe he can help you with something, but he's not going to help you a whole lot fighting off cannibals. And now you kind of wish that you had Captain Jack Sparrow with you, right? So we're just going to add to it, which might be kind of fun. Yeah, Emily definitely needs to, she needs to watch Quantum Leap. So, all right. With that, B, I think it's time for you to give us your extra point, which I'm going to turn on as soon as I can find out where it's at, because I don't know where it's at. It's a B. Is that it? Oh, it's over here. That's why. I found it. Go, B.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
Got it.
All right. Well, for my extra point this week, I had nothing prepared, but that's okay because it's been quite the week and there's been a lot going on. As you talked about last week, Sconzi, there's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs, but I was out today for a walk and I was listening to my Trent Shelton podcast that I listen to. And I feel like that podcast was very helpful for me and it kind of really hit home. One of the things that he talked about is your life is like a relay race. And right now in your life, as he said, you have the damn baton in your hands. So no matter what's happening to you, no matter where you've been, no matter where you're going, you have the damn baton. You can do with it what you want, but just remember that you have it and you can do it. And I thought that that was very powerful because there's lots of things that we always think about being in our control, out of our control, doing what we can. But I think it's also always important to think about do what you can with what's in your control. You are in control of how you are running your race. And sometimes it's not a sprint, it's not a jog, it's a crawl, but you're going and you're doing what you can. And that's important. So always being mindful of where you're at and what you can do because, and as he said, at some point your race is going to end and you're going to pass that baton off to somebody else, whether that's because you have kids or family or friends or other people in this life that you've touched. So run your race in the way that you want to run it and do what you want to do because at some point your race is going to be over. And those are words that I felt like I needed to hear. So that's why I want to give everybody else those words today too, because sometimes we just need a reminder to kind of put us back in the place where we're meant to be.
It's a good point. Thank you for that, B. I am going to kind of take a riff off part of what our conversation was here during Random Rankings and to talk a little bit about kind of what drives me as a person. So this is a little bit of a spoiler. So if you do go back and watch Quantum Leap, a little bit of a spoiler, but just to give you a real quick summary, Quantum Leap is about Dr. Sam Beckett. He's in the future, although it's in the past now. I think it was like 2010 or something. And he creates a time machine that leaps him into other people's lives, people who had something go wrong, whatever the case may be. And he is there to put right what once went wrong. That's his whole goal. He doesn't know who it is that's jumping him around because at some point something took control of him and started to leap him around without his control, which is kind of the premise of the show. He just randomly goes wherever. The last episode of the season, which to this day brings me to, like, I'm a bubbling mess of tears whenever I watch the last episode of that series. But he's having a conversation with God or time or whoever it is that he thinks is leaping him around. And he's just talking how he just wants to go home. You know, I'm done. I'm tired. I want to go home. And the guy says, you've got so much more good that you can do. And he says, you know, I haven't even done that much, you know. And the guy says, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly the quote, although I might hit it on the head. He says, you know, at the risk of overinflating your ego, you have done much more good than you think you've done. Because the people that you've helped have helped others. And they've helped others. And they've helped others. And that's really kind of my basic philosophy in life, is to help. In fact, I wrote this down as kind of like my life's mission, is to help other people, to put them in a position so that they can help other people. And it's all about that paying it forward, so to speak, right? So I guess I'm sharing that, A, because I started getting all emotional and misty about Quantum Leap because it came up on our random rankings, but also because I think it's important. If you look at the topics that we talk about, there's so many things there where we can all make a difference, a small difference, whatever that is. Maybe it's having a conversation with people who think differently than us, or maybe those who think the same as us, but helping them, align some of their views, or maybe think through some of their views, or maybe somebody doesn't know what they feel about something. You can help them get to that. Maybe it's someone's in a trauma situation and you can walk them through some of that. But I think there are so many opportunities for all of us around us at all times to help people in whatever way that may be. Be a shoulder for someone to cry on, be an ear for someone who has to say something, go pick someone up because they're out drinking too much and they're wearing their mask all night because they're safe and they need a ride home. Whatever it is, there are a million different ways. Just be cognizant of that, be open, have your eyes open, really pay attention. And when that opportunity comes up, do what you can to help people, because we're all going through all sorts of shit. We can all use a helping hand from time to time. And the only way that we as a people get better is if we can help the person next to us. So let's make sure we're doing that any chance we get. And that's what I got, B.
I appreciate that. I think that's a really good way to end the podcast, especially since we often talk about how there are times where people try to put their foot out and push people down instead of putting their hand out to lift them up. So, as the sun is starting to come in and reflect off my glasses, and I'm not sure if you can see it or if you can see me, I'm going to tell y'all where you can find us. So
you look like the tiger, by the way, with the stripes, like the tiger from Signal. Yeah.
So you can find me on Twitter at LandmarkMKE. You can find Sconzi on Twitter at Sconzi. You can find us at AQ_PROD on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook, Almost Qualified Productions. You can find Sconzi on Patreon. You can also find him on YouTube. Don't go to that other guy's YouTube. Go to the YouTube with the purple guy smoking a stogie.
That's right.
Are there any other thoughts you got for the people before we bid them adieu tonight?
I got nothing, y'all. Just have a great weekend and help somebody this weekend.
Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Enjoy. And we will talk to you all next week.
Woo!
Oh, yeah, brother.